Hi, this is Linda Romanello, Editor-in-Chief of Post Magazine, and welcome to PostTV. We are streaming live from the 2019 NAB New York Show here at the Jacob Javits Center. I am here this afternoon with Walter Viegas from T2 Computing. Walter, hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, I'm well, thank you.
Good,
thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you being here. So far, so good. You guys are having a good start to NAB New York?
Yeah, this has been great. A lot of our key vendors we work with are all here and well represented.
Awesome, terrific. I think we could jump right in maybe, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about T2 Computing and sort of what you guys are...
Sure. So T2 is, we actually come from many years of working with intellectual property content creators. Mm-hmm. So originally, 30 years ago, it started off as TechServe. So we T2 is born from TechServe, but so we don't have the retail store anymore, but we're still working with all of our intellectual property creators and content owners within the business, the B2B side.
Right.
So we have a strong team of engineers within the team that and solution architects that a lot of our customers work with us to kind of understand all the technologies that we're seeing here today and how to implement them with their new challenges and workflows that they're trying to achieve as the industry is evolving and moving towards new protocols and new demands and requirements.
Right. I remember the TechServe store, and I think you guys used to have their recycling program.
Yeah, absolutely. Once a year, yeah.
I remember that. That was
for the whole city.
Yeah. I remember that. So maybe you could talk a little bit about sort of what your focus is within the post-production community.
So yeah, within the post, we have a lot of customers that we support, and a lot of the challenges or requirements that they're coming to us is, a lot of things that we're seeing today about how do I edit, in the cloud, and so what does that actually mean? And a lot of the editors today too, they want to edit from not just within the confines of a small little dark room, but like be able to edit out in the field or edit from home. And so in addition to then the requirements are changing a lot, where the industry is asking for very high resolution files.
Right.
And, the Netflix requirements to publish are also very high and requires to have a lot of bandwidth and a lot of technology to meet those demands and needs. And so we find ourselves having those conversations in terms of like what is there today that it can be used, what is still something that's kind of out there in the future,
right.
But how to balance the two in terms of like being able to meet some of the requirements from an editorial side and then also from a delivery side.
Well, a lot of the studios also have artists that work remotely, or
sure.
they have multiple locations. So you'll have a studio that has, an LA location, a New York location, a Vancouver,
yeah.
And a lot of times they're, sharing work on the same project.
Right. So, yeah. And so we're working with a customer now that has that. They have actually 3 locations, 2 in the East Coast and 1 in the West Coast, and they would like to leverage the staff that they have. So when New York goes home, can LA continue to edit a show in New York? Well, traditionally, this customer would have to literally transfer and migrate all the content, which can be quite cumbersome or time-consuming,
right.
to the point where it doesn't make sense because the time that it would take to transfer, you lose that efficiency of the sun, when you do that follow the sun model. Mm-hmm. And so we're working with technologies like from HP, RGS particularly, where they're remote editing, and they have editors that are actually just remote controlling machines in New York and editing without having to do any media transfer or any wasted time for those type of feature like functions that you would typically see today in our workflows within the post house.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, a show like this, NAB New York, we have exhibitors, attendees from all different areas, of the industry. And what is your, let's say, focus at this show?
Yeah, so right now the focus is on a lot of the technologies that are out there. With the one use case that I was mentioning,
right.
For that customer, we're going to be working with them with. Avid has released in the last year. They've released a lot of new product.
Yeah.
They've reinvented the Media
Composer.
Right? Yeah.
That was big news.
That was huge, right? I think it was 18 years since we saw a change there, which is hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they've released a lot of new technology. They've been listening to some of the challenges that the post houses have.
Right.
So Media Central editorial management is something that we're going to be working with also in this use case that I was mentioning earlier with this customer. So they're going to be adopting that, which will allow editorial staff to also interact differently with the editors, where they can use a web browser to add content, tag content, annotate, trim head tails, and really, put the bins together so that the editor can be more efficient.
Right.
And this is something that they can use with just on their browser or on their iPad. Like, it's amazing to even think that we're having these conversations about how that workflow can change. So we're excited to be doing that technology and some other key features too, which is the remote editing I mentioned.
Right.
And we're also doing some other very unique and interesting workflows that we've kind of collaborated together on how to achieve using NDI.
Okay.
So NDI is something that NewTek really, put out there a while ago, but it's incorporated and built into Media Composer. So they're able to use now NDI for QCing, so they can have someone in LA QCing what an editor is doing in New York without having to finish the project and output the project to its final packaging and then upload it to a website or transfer it to a different location. So we're really making with all these new technologies, and around the Avid ecosystem specifically, because this customer is a big Avid house. We're definitely leveraging all that technology and helping them be more efficient, both with their staff and with their time.
We talked a little bit about it, I think, during our conversation. But are there anything that you sort of really want to shout out or highlight in terms of industry trends that you're seeing?
Yeah. So I mean, one of the biggest trends that I'm seeing, is the bandwidth requirement. And so as the requirements for 4K and 8K and then it's just the speed in which you need the machine. So I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, starting to see a shift from before. For those type of speeds, you needed fiber channel, and that was really the only way. Now we're finding that Ethernet is giving us the same performance, and so the client machines. And so, we were talking earlier about Media Composer had a facelift, right, after 18 years.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that for the last 18 years, too, from a networking perspective, our machines have been 1 gig, really, for the last 18 years. Now we're seeing machines out of the box are 10 gig. And so what that's doing is driving, now you have an editor that needs 10 gig of throughput, and now and they would need that anyway for 4K and 8K type of workflows.
Right.
But now the storages are requiring 40 gig, 100 gig, and so that bandwidth requirement is really tied to the fact that the requirements from how big the content is getting and how fast it's growing, and how quickly you need to move files that are just exponentially growing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a really big trend. And it's an exciting one because our team at T2, we have a very strong team. There's 16 of us within our professional services organization.
Oh, okay.
So we have a lot of in-depth knowledge of networking and the underlying infrastructure to make this a reality. So it's exciting to kind of see almost like the IT world and the broadcast world merging.
Kind of converging.
Converging. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anybody wants to learn more about T2 or talk to you guys and get more information? How can they get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, I'm always available, but the best way to get a hold of me would be going to our website at t2computing.com.
Okay.
Or you can just send an email to info@t2computing.com.
Okay.
And that would go to a whole lot of us that somebody will definitely reach out right away. And even if you wanted to get a hold of me at the event, I think info@t2computing.com would be the fastest way for someone to find me, because that email will find its way to me.
Awesome, terrific. Well, thank you, Wolf. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you
Appreciate
taking the
it.
time and speaking with us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Thank you.